Valorant themselves are just bringing out now is their new esports menu. Siege just feels like it's completely behind the eight ball. Even PUBG did this like 2-3 years ago. I mean, like, this needs to be in tomorrow. No, yesterday even.
Was PUBG the first? I mean, it's the first that springs to mind for me. There's probably some other obscure examples, but
like, I feel like, well,
arguably CS has had
even
it.
Counter-Strike to a degree,
For the
right,
majors.
has had something, even if it's just like a watch tab.
Yeah.
And
Plus
so
Pickens.
I think, yeah.
But I mean, sorry.
No, CS definitely before PUBG.
And I think, look, that leans into the point nicely. It's not necessarily just having, some menu to look at a schedule. Like, that doesn't create engagement. I'm thinking much more large scale with this, right? You have pick'ems, you have fantasy, you have all this kind of shit, again, to bridge the gap between your average Joe, who may not even play ranked, who sees this in that game and goes, hey, this is kind of cool. I could maybe, earn some credits or some packs or whatever, gets engaged, then watches the game, then it plays the game more, then one day aspires to be competitive. And that's a very naive mindset. That's only going to be the 0.001% where that ever happens. But it creates engagement, which the esport for the longest time has struggled with. And that starts in game. And look, don't get me wrong, something like this would take God knows how much money to develop, and needs to be continually developed and needs to be updated. So it's a big task.
Not necessarily. So in PUBG, for those unaware, there is actually a fantasy league. It's run by a company called Twire.
So third party.
It is a third party, but it has integration with PUBG because they've been... First, they innovated it, they made it, they did it, and then after everyone started playing it and it became popular, eventually PUBG was like, okay, well, we'll just feature it on our broadcast and we'll show the talent and who they've picked for their teams and how they're doing and the points accumulated. It's honestly, I don't believe it would be that difficult to actually do. And honestly, all it would probably take is for, say, a Ubisoft or a Blast to reach out to someone like a Twire and be like, hey, can you do this for our game? We'll feature it. We'll, obviously it'll take some funding and whatnot, and they'll have to get API access. But...
I mean, not to butt in too much. I'm sort of trying to make the differentiation behind having like a dedicated esports fully fledged tab in the game, which would take all the UI development, all that shit, all that integration. A third party thing like that for fantasy. Oh, fuck yeah, that's pretty simple and straightforward. It's a shame now that, like companies like Siege GG have gone under, because that would have been such a great example to have that kind of integration and connection that already pre-existed with Ubi. But I think third-party examples that maybe aren't super directly integrated into the the client itself, would be good.
It's difficult, I think, because having seen the website that Twire's created and how in depth it is, it's a lot to probably go into a client.
Yeah.
So I mean, at that point, then I would almost envision almost like a sort of link in the client that can actually go to a website. At that point, what's the difference between a Ubisoft website or, say, Twire as a licensed partner that can get, their name out there? So, look, regardless of how you do it, I think we're both in agreement. Things like fantasy certainly would bring a very fun aspect to Siege.
I think
the basics as well, watch tabs and schedules and all of that. It just should be well and truly in there.
At the end of the day, to put it simply, there needs to be more of a way to onboard and engage people in the esports program outside of people that are already in it. Because I think at the moment, the program does an okay job at sort of giving the people that are already there watching it what they want. But it's about bringing in new people and seeing growth. And if you have literally nothing in the game outside of maybe the occasional tab on news, which I feel was dropped off in stage one. I never really saw them unless I wasn't playing the game enough or whatever. Even if the most basic thing like that is not being executed, then I just don't understand how new people are going to be introduced to the game outside of, content creators.
Yeah. No,